Okay, we're on recording.
Okay, so let's see here. See here, Hickman, I call, so we did that, right?
Is Rav Simi?
Right, Rav Simi Masil Kula, we did it right. We ended with Rav Simi Masil Kula. And we did the Rashi, so now ready to start, go weiter. Tach by tit. So if he decided to line, we just started this. If he started to line the wall with some cement, it's able to stand on its own. Avimiyat. That would be considered a valid diminishing of the space. So, and that would give you less than 2 saws. If that thickness would bring you to less than 2 base saws, then you're in business. Okay, and let's say if it could stand on its own, then it's legit. Let's say it cannot stand on its own. Let's say you don't have enough thickness where this tar or whatever it is thick enough to stand on its own, but it does increase the wall to the point where it's still less than 2 saws. Rabba Omar Havimiyat, Rabba Omar Lavimiyat. Like saying Rab and Rava is not a legit miyat. Rabba Omar Havimiyat, Hashemiyah Koi. Rabba says it's legit because right now it's standing. It can't stand on its own, but it's stuck to the wall. Because you have a wall, you have the extension of the cement, of the plaster, that's helping you make it thicker. And therefore that's good. Well, Rabbi says no. If it cannot stand on its own, merely as an extension of the wall doesn't count. It needs to have its own identity and its own ability to stand, and therefore it would not count. Okay, let's do Rashi. Tach betit. All right, so we ended with the Masil Kula. Next Rashi, almost to the middle of the page. Tach betit. Okay, and you add it to the thickness of the walls until you've diminished the size of the saw. This has nothing to do with Rav Bar Shimi, but this is an independent statement, not connected to what we said earlier. Okay, so if it's able to stand that tit that if this cement extension of the wall is able to stand on its own, that was made thick enough, that even if you were to take the original wall away, this layer would be able to stand on its own in its thickness. Well, then everyone agrees that's a legit diminishing of the space. If on the other hand, that's weiter. Okay, but if it's not, then you have my focus, Rab and Rav. And again, Rab and Rav seem to keep going at it as far as all of these laws of trying to rectify a parfait. They take they're consistent in one being more lenient, one being more chumradik, and let's proceed to the next maflok.
So one second, but if you're a Rava man and you hold by this mud on the wall, then really what you're saying is as long as the interior dimensions of this lot, in other words, because we had the parallel wall and they argued over how far the parallel wall was from the original wall, but if you hold by this mud, then as long as you reduce the size of the interior, you're saying it's okay to carry in that space if you're a robot person. Again,
it depends what you want to do. We have to keep remembering how it is that you want to fix up the interior. Do you want to fix it up by making it less space, which then it didn't matter. Now, less space is a physical thing. If it's less space, then it's less space. So, it's got to be permanent, but that's a physical situation. When it comes to making a new fence, that's where it got more complicated, because if you make a new fence that's closer to the original fence, then it's essentially the same fence, and you need new fencing. And
right,
then,
but that fence is going to reduce the space on the inside.
But that's not what the
No.
Well, because that's what the mud's doing here. It's also reducing the space on the inside.
Here it was reducing the inside. In the other cases, It was trying to make it the hookah fladira. we're trying to make it, re-fence for different purposes. You have to, depends what you're doing.
I see what
You
you're
know, yeah.
But it's accomplishing what Michael's saying, though, Rabbi. It is also making it smaller, but that's not the point. You're saying it just makes it a new fence and it's a whole new ball game.
No, I'm saying it depends what it. In this case, I'm trying to make it smaller. Every case, you have to look at what am I trying to do, and if I'm doing it, So if I want to make a new fence, that's a whole different story, because that's where it's going to be too big anyway. It needs to be refenced. This is not that case. This is a case where I just want to diminish the space to make it less than 2 suds. So in this case, it doesn't matter whether it's connected, right? This would not work if I wanted to redo this for the sake of hookah fladira. That should be a residential fence.
Right. It wouldn't
this
work,
cement would not work.
Yes.
It would only work since I'm doing it for the purposes of diminishing the space, it physically diminishes the space. So that's a different story. Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, you just have to write. You have to know what your purpose is. Okay, so next case. Hirchik Manateo Dalit. So here you have a mound that serves as one of your walls, and you moved away from it 4 tfachim. Yasa mechitzos, and you made a mechitza away from the mound 4 tfachim. Hayil, it works. And now this is like a new fence. Now this is a different situation. And where in order to make a new fence, I need to be 4 tfachim away from the original fencing. Now, this mound was one of my fences, and it was not hookah fladira. It was not for residential purposes. So by moving away 4 tfachim, I've now made it good. Let's do Rashi. There's one Rashi here. Hirchik minatel shibakarfe. Okay, what?
We're trying to figure out which
We're
illustration.
we're trying to find the mound in the picture.
Yeah, so they just do it
okay.
They do it as a straight line, though. They just do it as a straight mound, goes straight down.
Okay, so in the art scroll, it looks a little different.
All right.
Okay, let's take a look. Let's see at least Rashi. I don't have your diagrams. Can I talk and see the diagrams at the same time?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, let's see, because
He's on 106.
I texted it to you.
Yeah, right. I see it's downloading. Okay, let's do the Rashi. Hirchik Manatel Shivakarfe. Okay, you distance 4 tfachim from the mound in the karfe. Yesh Manatel Ada Machitzi Yosa Beis Hasayim.
Oh, this is
yeah, right.
That's the,
It's the
yeah.
it's he uses tail as a hill,
Yeah.
which is kind
Tail
of
as a
drops
hill,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think? Where is it?
It's here.
Well, that's
Okay,
the
and then
mound.
Harbe. So from the mound until the fencing, you've got way more than a base of sign. So now what you want to do is you want to make, again, this is the exact opposite goal of what we had in the earlier case. Not opposite, but very different. In the earlier case, we're trying to make it smaller. This is way, way too big to make smaller. That ain't going to work. But what you want to do is you want to move 4 tfachim away from the mound and make a fence on that side where the mound was. But okay, and you certainly have still more between the new fence and the old fence. Now there is nothing changed. You still have way more than 2 saws to deal with, so it's certainly not going to help in terms of that. I just let's do 1 second. I will be based the sign being I was 1 second. I was also right. He says you have a lot more than 2 saws. No matter what the new wall does, it doesn't make you less than 2 saws, but it's hookah fladira. Okay, what was the number of that diagram?
106.
Yeah, but it's 2. 1 second.
It's paired base. Just go through.
Explain to
Yeah,
me
okay,
what
it's going to take. It's going to take me some time. Okay, because I have to scroll all the way down, and
Page 73.
that might help. Page, and where the page is?
I should just scroll as you scroll through. It should tell.
Oh, it says 39. Okay, 73. Oh, look at that. 73 of 256. Okay, and what's the number?
106.
Oh, look at that. I'm at 107. Perfect. Right. Hirchik min ateo dalid v'asa mechitza. Okay, where is? I don't see the tail here.
Yeah, it's on the right-hand
It's
side.
on the right side.
It's a hill that has a steep drop-off.
Okay. Okay.
That's what
Fine,
we
I
were
don't
mumbling
know.
about before. We couldn't figure
It's
out.
got
not
it.
really clear.
Okay, so I'm up to 107 now. Okay, so you you moved 4 tefachim away. Everything is good. There's no discussion in that case. Okay, let's continue. One more time. Well, let's say you make the wall, this new wall, near the mound, less than 3, al sasatel, or on top of the mound itself. Now, we already learned about this. We already had the opinions earlier that said that if it's within 3 tefachim, it's merely seen as an extension. It's not a choshev enough amount to be considered in the wall. Okay? Rav Chizda, Rav Nuna. So, but here we have 2 new players, and we have the opinions of Rav Chizda and Rav Nuna. Chana mahayil, chana malayil, low hole. One says it works, one says it does not work. So, let's see, Rashi. Hayil vakol mutter. So one says it works and the entire area now becomes able to be carried in because it's been refenced for the sake of a dira. The other one says low hole. Right? So what you have here is you just added one mechitza onto another, or if you've even built it on the mound, so for sure, that's the logic to say it doesn't work is clearly there because we had this concept before. It's mechitza top mechitza. So, but yet one of the Amoram says it does work. Why? Look at the next Rashi. He says that when it comes to making an area surrounded for the purposes of being residential, for that, this mechitza on top of mechitza will work. So while generally we say it's a joke and how could you redo a fence, but when it comes to the issue of hukah v'dira, there's actually an opinion that says it's good. It's good. Okay, unlike what we said earlier. So this is a new kid on the block, so to speak, who has a new opinion, but we don't know who says what. We just know it's machlokas of Rav Nuna and Rav Chizda. So this time, now back to the Gemara. This time the Rav Chizda Amar Hoyel. Let me prove to you that it's Rav Chizda who says the concept of pole that it will work. Why? Did not. Let's go into another area, and from there we'll extrapolate that it was actually Rav Chizda who says it would work. Because we learn it as follows. A person makes a fence on top of another fence. Again, it seems like overkill. You've taken a 10 tefach fence, you made it to a 20 tefach fence. Well, what do you do? What have you done? So Rav Chizda b'Shabbos hayil. So believe it or not, Rav Chizda says for Shabbos it does work, which is exactly what we just said before. Let's see, one second. But if you want to acquire the property of a convert who passed away and has no kids and has no heirs, so we know that the halach is when a convert passes away without any heirs, every Jew who is a regular Jew and not a non-convert has heirs. You have some relative, but the only one who doesn't have any relatives is a convert who, because he converted, becomes a new person. And he's not related to anybody he was related to earlier before his conversion. And unless he has children, then he's not going to have any heirs. So somebody wants to come along and acquire the property of the convert. If you decide to acquire the property, so one of the ways would have been if you built a fence, a real new fence, that would have been fine. But you want to make a shortcut. You want to take fencing and put it on top of an already existing fencing. Is that going to work to acquire the property of a convert? The halach is, while it worked for Shabbos, when it comes to the property of the convert, you have not acquired a thing. It's overkill, and there it's not overkill. It's nothing. You've accomplished nothing. So the same achloikis we have with Rav Nuna and Rav Chizda, we have now again between Rav Chizda and Rav Sheshis, and Rav Chizda clearly is the one who says it works. This time. So indeed, we've proved it and indeed it's a legit proof that Rav Chizda is the one who's lenient and says when it comes to Shabbos, it works. Okay.
Is there
see
an
here.
explanation for that, Rabbi? I see it. That's what it says, but why wouldn't it work for a convert and what?
Well, the real question is why does it work for Shabbos? There's more logic to say it shouldn't work because what are you doing?
Yeah.
You've taken an already existing fence and you just made it higher. What's that going to do?
Yeah.
So if anything, the question is in the other direction.
Yeah.
Let's see Rashi. The convert died. He has no heirs. This is not called a chazaka to acquire it. If another guy comes along and tries to make a legit kinyan after this guy made his illegit kinyan, the second guy is kona. The first guy, spent a few hours building a fence, we say to the first guy, tough luck, you got to know what you're doing. That's why you got to ask the rabbis what to do. If you start doing your own stuff and you think it's good enough, another guy comes along, this is where people start bad-mouthing the Bezdin. So I don't believe it. I worked all these days, and another guy comes along, and then right away they're going to say it's because of, he was related to his to the guy's uncle, and this is where all the cynicism gets in. You got to follow what the rabbis tell you, otherwise it's not going to work. So the second guy is actually Kona. Fine. Let's proceed. Rav Chizda now adds, while we argued about the wall by the mound, Rav Sheshes right here actually, we argued here about the case of building a fence on top of another fence, and Rav Sheshes said it doesn't work. However, Rav Sheshes is moded to me, Shem Asa Mechitza Al Atel Shaul. That if you make a mechitza on the mound, that there it would work. On top of a fence, it wouldn't work. But on top of a mound, it would work. Why? My timer. What's the reason? Because he's living in the area of the upper mechitzas. He's using them. One second. What's mechitza ala tail? Shahoel. My time mechitzas al yonos tudar. In other words, seems here that you made a mount for those on top. You made a mechitza for those on top of the mound. But take a look at Rashi. Okay, Vachi Pirish. This is just Rashi is first correcting the gears, so now he's going to explain it. Even though Rav Sheshes argues and says if you wanted to fix up the open area by adding height to the mound, it doesn't work. In this method, Hainu Taima. The reason is Shador b'Karfei ba'arvim mechitzas hatachtonas dor, because the guy in the open area is living in the mound. He's using the mound as his fence. So by you making a new fence, raising it higher, what do you do for him? You didn't really do anything. But if you had a mound that was very, very big, and it was more than base Sayim, and you're living on the mound, here you want to make the fence because you want to surround the people who are on top of it. This is a huge mound. Okay, it's not a pitcher's mound. This is a huge mound that's bigger than 5,000 square amas. Right now, but it was not surrounded for the sake of living. And now you want to make a new fence surrounding it. Well, those people now have a fence that they can really use, because the other fence was halachically a fence, but it wasn't really a usable fence. It didn't keep out the animals, didn't do anything. Okay? So there it would work. So Rav Sheshes would admit that it would work. Hayil, look at Rashi, next Rashi. Hayil vador ala tail dor ba'avir mechitos fel yonos. Okay, since the one who's living on top of the mound is living in the airspace of these mechitas, al yonos, of the upper ones, well, mahani lei tachton midi, and the bottom one didn't help him. It didn't protect him. It didn't enclose him. Look, avav mechitza al gabi mechitza. It's not called a mechitza on top of a mechitza. So in this particular case, since indeed you are gaining from the fencing, because now I'm being surrounded. Therefore it's all good, and therefore that will work. That will work. Okay, fine. So I guess we're ready to go weiter. New Shaila. So basically, I guess in other words, when it's not viewed as overkill because you've got, or I keep using that word, it's not the right word, of redundancy. You're just being redundant. Here you're not being redundant because of the fact that I'm actually using the fences for an actual surrounding. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a diagram there?
Yeah, 108.
108.
Where's the mount?
I think.
I didn't get it.
108.
Now, so now you're surrounding them.
It's very
So,
steep now.
well, this is
Oh,
the
God,
same
yeah,
concept
okay,
we
I
had
see it now.
before, where once it's good for one thing, then it's good for something else.
Yeah, okay, fine. Right, in other words, so technically you were considered closed in before, but didn't serve you, didn't do anything for you. Now it's doing something for you in terms of surrounding you, so it works. Okay, very good. Shkaya. Next case. Boy Rab Rav Chana. Rav Chana now had a shaila. Nivlu mechitzatonos. So going back to the case where you made one mechit on top of the other one, not this case that we just did. The classical case where it was basically you were redundant in what you tried to do. You had a wall, you built a wall on top of the original wall. So till now, at least most of the opinions were shkoyach Reb Noach, you're not doing anything. So it doesn't help. Unless you're Rav Hamnuna, but if you weren't Rav Hamnuna, we didn't buy into this. So now the shal is as follows: Boy Rab Rav Chana nivlu mechitzas hatachtonas v'yonos kayamos mao. Let's say you had a little bit of an earthquake or some kind of a mud thing or whatever. The ground a little bit opened up and the fence sunk into the ground. So the original fence of 10 tefachim sunk into the ground, no longer to be seen by any human. And what do you have protecting you now is the second 10 tefachim that now is serving as your fence. So the old fences are now officially gone. They've sunk into the ground, and now you've got a new fence that the guy built after the fact. So when he built it, it didn't serve anything, but it's certainly serving everybody right now because you would have been now without fences. So where it says Lamai, so as far as what is your shaila? What are you asking about? If you're asking regarding the property of the ger, and you want to know that if your fencing that you did, right? We said before that if you made a fence on top of a fence, you didn't accomplish anything. And if a guy comes in and decides to do some plowing, he's going to make the kinyan, even though he was Johnny come lately, but he's the first guy who actually did anything constructive. So if the question is acquiring the property of the ger, hainu diyirmi abira. This is exactly the same concept of what Yirmi Abira said. Dama Yirmi Abira, I'm Rav Yehuda, because Yirmi Abira said the name of Rav Yehuda. Haiman de shod de lifta pila de ara de ger. If a person throws a turnip into the ground, into the crack of the ground of a ger, right? So the ger has a piece of property, and you want to acquire it. So you don't have the materials to plow right now, but you throw a turnip into a crack in the ground. What's going to happen eventually? The turnip's going to take hold. Okay. Now another Jew came along and decided to dig in the ground a little bit. You did some plowing. You did some real work. The first guy throws a turnip into the ground. The second guy decides to plow. Basra Kani, so it doesn't take much to figure out that the second guy who really did something acquires it. Kama loy Kani. Okay. The first guy cannot be Kona. 1 second. Basra Kani Kama lo Kani. My timer. What's the reason why? Because even though maybe the turnip did take root later on, but when he threw it, it didn't improve. There's no improvement to the property. Okay, and even though it did improve, it improved incidentally. Okay, it wasn't as a result of what you did physically. You threw a turnip into the ground. Slowly but surely it took root. So that taking root, it sounds like even if the guy came after the turnip took root and did his plowing over there, it still would not happen because the action per se that you did didn't really do anything. So the idea that you're now what you want to be kona based on the eventual taking root does not seem to work.
Rabbi, that flies in the face of other things we've learned about causation. Like you throw something from a Rishis Yachid to Rishis Rabbim, the fact that you even launch something, that causes something. Here the turnip was thrown in, and eventually it did turn into something. Why don't they say the concept it's a causation? If it was, there would be nothing if the turnip wasn't there.
Okay, well, okay, I guess you're making a good point about to force a distinction between making a kinyan and, let's say, some other type of malach. If you do something that eventually might take root, I mean, again, it really depends on what the case is, but, this is a kinyan. The kinyan needs to manifest ownership, and you have to look at what you're trying to accomplish in each case. Here, I'm trying to show bylaws. I'm trying to show that I'm the owner of this property by doing what? By throwing the turnip into the crack. It didn't do anything. At the time that you tried to show the bylaws, it didn't do anything. The fact that later on it emerges as something significant, it's too late because you have to look at what you want to do. And what you want to do right now is show you're the owner of the land, and you haven't shown it. Okay, let's take a look at Rashi, and maybe we'll see more.
Well, right? You planted it, but still... I guess that always goes back and forth. I guess the key here is the fact that it's a ger and he has no family, so you don't have to worry about the owner coming forward and declaring, he owns the land. In other words, you have to plant it, you have to wait a certain amount of time. You don't have any of that because it's a ger. So now you... But you do have, you have a second guy coming along, and he also wants the property. Right, so he plows it, but the first guy planted. So the fact that he planted the turnip, I mean, I guess I don't quite understand why planting the turnip isn't considered a kinyan.
Well, he didn't really plant. You're being way too generous. He didn't plant it. If he planted a turnip, you're right. He didn't plant a turnip. He threw a turnip into a crack of the ground. And at that time, it takes a while for that. He actually dug the ground and put the seed in and covered the seed. That's a different story. Okay, let's take a look at Rashi. Let's see. Okay. According to the one who says you can't make one mechita to have another mechita, nivlu atachtonos bekarka. If let's say the first wall sunk into the ground, the ground was very soft, and and pray or whatever, and just mushy. V'nichbad hakoisel b'vas achas b'shabis v'loinofal. And somehow the kaisel got hit at one time on Shabbos, but it didn't fall, el nivla, but rather something hit into the wall, landed on the wall, whatever, and by doing so, it pushed it into the ground at one time, 10 fachim. So it was one quick, submersion into the ground. El nivla, so now the upper fence is standing, what's Allah? So is that considered now retroactively you making a valid fence because now it's no longer redundant. Now you need this fencing. So what's the story? The Elin, if they get more answer, what's your shaila? Let me understand what case you're trying to ask me about. Elin, if they get okay, if your shaila was the issue of nefteger, right? And Rashi throws this in. As I pointed out, in other words, nobody else came till after the turnip took root. Okay, that's just further to annoy all of you who don't like the halacha. This is a clear message that what you did is bupkis. Because even if the guy came along, one more time, if the second guy didn't come along till after the first wall was submerged in the ground, but okay, he says, and you find when the guy comes, all you have are the mechita which the first guy made. And now, he wants to acquire it. He wants to acquire this property by, the second guy doing something, and the first guy obviously wants to claim it's his. One more time, he says, "Let's say somebody else didn't come up and jump the gun. Still, the bottom fences have already been submerged into the ground. And it comes out that there was no mechitza other than this, and maybe now, because that's a shaila, maybe now as they submerge, and now my fencing actually did something significant, maybe now it's acquired for me. And once it's acquired for me, then if another guy comes along and plows, it doesn't work. You can't do that. It's too late. The first guy should be kona. What do you say? No, the first guy's action is completely irrelevant and inconsequential because of the fact that he didn't do anything actually. It didn't result from reaction. It came a mela, right? It's when the ground submerged, the ground softened, and the fence submerged. Then your fence became a fence. But shkayach, it wasn't you. You didn't do it. Or do you say no? Lamaisa, it happened. So the Gemara says, well, that's exactly the same case, the turnip case. Next Rashi, the shada lifta apila, nota lefes beguma, shemata bekarkager. Okay, you, in a sense, you planted the turnip in a hole that you found in the ground of a ger, lechafra, who, and there was no digging. You didn't dig. You just threw the turnip into the hole. The chafra b'machosh rishon, because if you had really dug it with some kind of shovel or something, that would be a different story. Then of course you'd acquire it. You did a real act, a legit act of planting. But all you did is you threw, the turnip into the hole, and eventually in time it's gonna do something. Loi koshavach. So the halacha is the second guy gets it because the first guy didn't improve it. Okay, and that's not called a chazaka if eventually, incidentally, and as a result of time, it takes root. But non noal gadol parat kol shutan. We learned in a Mishnah, it's a famous Mishnah, Bo Basra. There needs to be a real action. You got to close the door. You got to open a door. Okay, you got to make a fence or break the fence. You got to do something that's real. Got to be an actual, tangible action. If you're just, you're staying and you're throwing a thing in there, and somebody sees a turnip in a hole, that you haven't planted anything yet. Okay, maybe one day it'll happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And therefore, it doesn't count. Mida mahani have a chazaka. Something that really helps is a chazaka. If it doesn't really help, as this turnip right now doesn't do anything, therefore it's not a chazaka. So when it comes to nirtzei ager, your shiloh can't be relevant because it's no different than the turnip case. And I already have somebody talking about the turnip case. So where was your shiloh? Let's continue then back in the Gemara. Velding and Shabbos. Okay, so the shiloh my shiloh was in relation to Shabbos. Okay, have a mechita not to be Shabbos. Is it like a mechita that's made on Shabbos? Betanya kol mechita not to be Shabbos. Bein b'shogeg bein made to shmom mechita. Okay, so the question is, do you say? So I guess the case is that it's submerged on Shabbos. That's the case. That it somehow became relevant on Shabbos, this mechitza. And the question is now, can this be considered a fencing on Shabbos or not? Do you say, one second, Betanya, we learned in the Brisa, kol mechitza not be Shabbos, bein b'shogeg bein made to shmom mechitza. That any mechitza that's made on Shabbos in any type of fashion, even though maybe it happened illegally or incidentally or somehow, accidentally, it's still viewed as a mechitza. So therefore maybe it should work. It should work. So let's see the next Rashi, 3 lines from the bottom. Eloni and Shabbos, imistri bel yoinois shebetelos anachsho. Right, so this is not about it doesn't seem like it's about a karfek. It seems from Rashi, it's a straight up shiloh. Are you surrounded? It's because originally you were surrounded by a 10 tefach wall. Then you made into a 20 tefach wall, and then the first 10 tefachim now. So when you made that second tefach, that was irrelevant. The second 10 tefachim didn't count because what'd you do? You already had a wall. So you did it for whatever, for aesthetic purposes or to keep the noise out, whatever you did it for. Now that the first 10 tefachim went down into the ground, can you say, if it happened on Shabbos, that these walls are valid? What do you say? No, since they weren't valid before Shabbos, they're not valid on Shabbos. Okay? So the shaila is
why wasn't the wall valid? One wall on top of another, that whole wall is valid still. It's still a mechitza. It's still you have an eruv.
Well, but it didn't serve you. I mean, anybody asking you, what's your mechitza? The mechitza are the first 10 tefachim. That's my mechitza. The second 10 tefachim is just simply pure, it's extra. It's icing on the cake. And it maybe it doesn't serve as a valid. No one would say you're being surrounded by the second 10 tefachim. It's just not the case. You had a perfectly legit wall before the submersion into the ground. But now that it's submerged on Shabbos, that just seems to be the shaila. It happened on Shabbos. So now the question is, can you validate your surroundings by a wall that was created on Shabbos or not? So the Gemara seems to say, well, it seems to be clear that you are allowed to. That there is no, as we said, Vatanya, because I'm not sure what the shaila is, because the Brisa says, maybe that's where we're answering the shaila. Kol mechitza nasa b'Shabbos bein mishogim bein mezeh shmo mechitza. The Brisa says clearly, any mechitza made on Shabbos is a valid mechitza. Okay, so even though this wall only became relevant only on Shabbos and serves you only on Shabbos, it should still be good. So what's the issues? Right now everything seems to be good. The only question is, La Vitmar Law, continuing in the Gemara, La Vitmar Law, Amar Rav Nachman Loshonol Israel. We had this concept recently already before, that did Rav Nachman say that when we consider a wall that is created on Shabbos is only a wall to nail you, to get you into trouble, to make you chayiv on Shabbos. If you throw something from Rishus Harabim into this walled area, that it is valid enough to give you a chayiv misa on Shabbos for what you did. But the leniency of carrying inside of these walls because I'm surrounded, that we never gave you. Rav Nachman said it's only considered valid on the negative end of things to be considered walls, to be considered chiyav misa, but not for the leniency of carrying. So it doesn't help you. Even though midoraisa it would work, but midrabanan we're going to prevent these walls from being valid. So we flip the cards on you, and we now say that if I carry, you won't be able to carry inside these walls. To which Gemara responds, no, you still can carry inside these walls. Because that was only said in the case of mazid. When you do it intentionally, then we're going to nail you and say that you can't. We're not going to let you carry inside these walls that you made the mazid on Shabbos. But in this case, we didn't have the mazid. You didn't do anything intentionally. You just happened to submerge into the ground. It's going to be good.
Rabbi,
it's going to be okay.
I'm still having a problem. Okay, let's go back to the turnip again. The turnip eventually turned into a real growth. The
big deal.
Yeah,
where is your kinyan?
Yeah, but wait a second.
Where's your acquisition?
I understand, but what I'm trying to say is now the fence sinks. The double fence, the original 10 tefachim sink. Now the new one emerges. That was a natural thing. It didn't happen. No, there was no action. There was no. You said before that there has to be a physical act. Well, there was no physical act. It just sunk. So this other thing emerges.
Which is why but we switched gears. We're not talking about a kinyan now. We're talking about Shabbos. We're talking about the laws of Shabbos.
All right.
And since we're talking about Shabbos, the rules are different. You have to look at each case of what we're dealing with. And for Shabbos, they could work if it was not done b'mezid. So the one Rashi we missed, and then you guys have to daven. I davened at 8:30 this morning. Elian Shabbos Lizrok l'chumra. So what?
No, it's not 8:30 yet. You said you davened at 8:30.
No, I davened at 8:30. It's not, with the ED. It's kind of like the ED. I didn't say an ED. Okay. Anyway, so Lamaisa. Yes. Yeah, so the only So Rav Nachman said that we're only going to consider a valid wall to throw it, to nail you l'chumra, to get you a chiyav misa, but not to be lenient, which Gemara says, but that's only when you do it b'meida. When you don't do b'meida, it's a valid wall. So here too, the wall would be valid for Shabbat to allow you to carry inside, because here you do not do b'meida. We'll see you guys hopefully in person tomorrow. Shkoyach.
No coffee tomorrow. I'm not bringing any.
Oh, thank you. And you're not coming, right?
I'm hoping to call in though.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, take care. Bye bye. You can't call in the coffee. What's the problem? Okay.
Send it.
You can't put it on a
Okay.
drone.
No worries.
Fly
Take care. Okay. Bye.
That's right. We need drone coffee.